of the School Board of Independent School District 624. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Chapman?
Here.
Beatty here. Kimball?
Here.
Mullen? Rupert?
Here.
Newmaster?
Here.
Wilson?
Here.
Right, we'll have two separate meetings tonight. Tonight is our special meeting first. We have one operational item on this agenda, and that's the certification of 2016 May 2017 proposed property tax levy. Before we get started, I will do everything I can on both of the meetings tonight to keep us to the agenda schedule so that we can all see the political version of the thriller in Manila at 8 p.m. So let's turn first to the certification of 2016 pay 2017 proposed property tax levy. Dr. Lovett or Dr. Kazmierczak?
I'll introduce Dr. Kazmierczak. Introducing the background information. This is the preliminary levy. All the public entities are taking action on the preliminary levy, which is the maximum they can levy from December. So I'll pass it on to Dr. Kazmierczak.
Thank you, Dr. Lovett. Madam Chair, members of the board, I handed out paper copies of what we talked about, and I did that for a couple of reasons. One, sometimes board members have preferred to actually have a piece of paper in hand. And then secondly, the figures that you have now in the paper copy are different from the figures that were sent out to you. And let me just explain a little bit about that. So the Department of Education compiles a levy document. It's 38 pages. And just to give you an idea, the print is a lot like this. This is page 30 of the 38. So the 37 other pages I tried to condense into this so that we have a productive conversation about it. So this is what I'm going to use to go through the levy and explain it. There are times when we go through it relatively quickly, and there are times when we go through it a little slower because there may be some questions. So, however you want to handle it in terms of when we get to the item, don't ask questions. I think that's really the best way to do it. Because I talked about a talking point when I ask questions. So anyway, the reason why there are so many different versions is because starting in early September, the Department of Education has to run this report for school districts. And then it gives districts an opportunity to review the data and then to provide additional information to the department. Or the department actually finds that there may be an error in a certain calculation. And so these figures that you see here on this one that I handed out, this is the fourth iteration of this that they had a different number for Whitefield Lake and four of the 7 or 8 runs that they've done so far. So that just gives you an idea how things change during the month of September leading up to the approval. And that's in part why school districts 99.9% of the time, the preliminary levy approved maximum, because between now and September 30th, in all likelihood, there will be a change on our numbers. If we actually approved a hard dollar amount, we can't change it from there. And in fact, it's from now through December when we approve our final levy, certify our final levy. If we were to approve a hard number tonight, we wouldn't be able to modify that number. Things can change, so that's why we do it this way. As an example, there's an economic abatement levy that wasn't in the first run, so that 0.12 figure was absent that. So it's just an example of why we do things the way we do and call it maximum. So I'm going to go through, well, first let me just point out this one here, it's the one that's not colorful. The key number for you on this one is the 3/4 of the way down, there's a line that says total, and then that negative 0.53. That's the total levy. That's where we're at as of right now. So the district's levy would be down 0.53% for fiscal year 18. So I'm not going to spend a lot more time on that particular document. I'm going to spend most of my time on a more colorful document, and I'll try to highlight some of the major differences from last year to this year. you just bear with me, I'm just going to ask you to go to certain places on that document. So if you go to the very bottom in yellow, you see that negative 0.53 figure. So it's highlighted in yellow. So that negative 0.53 matches what was on that other sheet from the Department of Ed, which is and so this is a summary of all those other 30-some pages on a single sheet. So, okay, and then if you go up to the top, we'll just start with our general fund categories. Operating referendum. So the 12.1 million figure is the prior year's levy. So the levy you're considering for action tonight is that next column, that 12.996 million. And that follows throughout the column. So as you go through that, you can see how things compare. And I'm going to briefly highlight why some of them are different from the previous year. So our operating referendum, that's our voter-approved referendum, that's different in part because we have an inflation factor built in. So every year our amount goes up, our people amount goes up. So we're from 1,460 up to 1,507. So that's part of the reason. Another part of the reason is that we anticipate about 100 more students in fiscal year 18 than the prior year. I'll try not to get too far into the weeds on some of these things. Another factor is that our operating levy is equalized. And there's as you progress year by year, equalization factor tends to be minimized and shifts a little bit more onto the levy from where it used to be state aid. So that's a little bit of it too. And you'll hear a little bit about the aid versus levy throughout some of these items. When I refer to aid, I mean state aid. When I refer to levy, I mean local levy. Okay, so that's that line, local optional revenue. This is the school districts in Minnesota are able to assess $424 per adjusted pupil unit by board action. This is relatively new in the last 2 or 3 years. So in fact, if you wanted to know what our total operating levy was, operating levy plus local optional revenue, it would be that $424 plus the $1507. That gives you an idea how much revenue we need to do board action or board approval in addition to our general education revenue. And that one didn't change much. That's still $424. Okay, equity revenue. I'll pick it up here. Equity revenue is, the equity is, we're comparing the amount of revenue districts in the 5th percentile compared to those in the 95th percentile. So we have a gap between those districts. The Metro District gap is around $1,500. So there's a calculation that tells us how much we fit in there and how much we get. And so our calculation indicates that we're less in that area this year. And that's one of those categories where we can spend a lot of time explaining our equity calculation. Not doing that unless you really want to dive into that one. Believe it or not, some of these topics aren't all that exciting. For some, I think they're okay. So I don't want to minimize the formula changes, and it is interesting, but for our purposes here, I'll go through the calculation.
Wayne?
Yeah.
Could I just,
Go ahead, George.
this probably seems very simple-minded, but consider the source. If we do want to use both sheets that we have,
Yeah.
and we take the plain, non-color, non-interesting one, we can, I find it easier to talk about it with fewer line items, because there's just so many, and you're doing a great job of going down into them. We could take the numbers in the far right column here, and we could match them up with the colored sheet. It's just a matter of, matching. So like even within the general fund, we have on the white sheet those first 5 columns that separately add up to the 24,297 on both forms. And it's just that you would, with those 5 different categories of general fund levy, there's 20 line items, but 3 of them go into one goes into, it's just a matching process, correct?
Correct. So on page 30 from the Department of Ed, the 24,297,000 figure over on the right, about the 6th line down, matches your other document. So the other document provides you a little bit more detail. I wouldn't say a lot, because there could be a lot more included, but gives you a little more detail about what actually goes into that column. So then on the back of the Department of Ed sheet, it's broken down by referendum over on the descriptor. You have general education, so GEN is general education. R&B means referendum, market value, and then board approved, and then exempt. So there are different categories that they collapse into. But I mean, I could tell you which ones fit into those. So the 12.996, that's pretty obvious. That's our referendum. The 4.732 million in the next line, we would have to go in and if it's the next 2 or 3, we didn't break it down that way, but.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to have and it doesn't appear to go perfectly in order, but just that it does occur that way.
And then, again, I'm back in the Department of Ed sheet, the 895,000 figure, right below that $24 million figure. So 895, that's our community service fund. So that's the total levy for that. And then the colorful document, it breaks that down so you have a little bit more information about where those figures are coming from. Let's see, 3,347 is 3.2 is on there. And so on. So, George, do you want me to spend more time on it?
Nope, I just wanted people to recognize that, and they probably did, but just in case they didn't. So I'm sorry to have interrupted you going through the general one.
Okay. Let's see. So I'll just highlight just a couple of more, and we'll still go through each one. So capital project referendum, that is our voter-approved capital projects levy from 3 years ago when it was approved. So our amount is going up to 1.598. So that's a tax rate. So it's 2.208% times our net tax capacity. So as our net tax capacity grows, we get more revenue on a year-to-year basis. So that's up to about 1.6 million now. And the initial, those of you who might remember the figures, the initial amount was more than 1.3 to 1.4 area. So it's grown because our net tax capacity is grown. Student achievement, I just want to make note of that. That went down considerably. That's because the 2014 legislature, I believe it was, put in, it used to be called the old, the general ed levy. There was a general ed levy that was taken out of existence in 2003. 2014 legislature put it back in. 2015 legislature decided to take it out. So we're in year 2 of 3, where it first started out at 20 million statewide. It's now 10 million statewide. It's going to be 0 statewide next year. So that's why that was cut in half. It was cut in half statewide. Operating capital, you see a significant decrease from one year to the next. Our operating capital revenue didn't go down. It's actually, our levy went down, but our state aid went up. So it went up a little bit, not a lot overall, but the greater amount shifted to state aid rather than local levy. All right, team integration is relatively flat. Reemployment insurance, that's just our unemployment insurance. 50,000 is about what we incur each year for unemployment insurance. State schools levy is relatively flat. Safe Schools Intermediate levy being relatively flat. The ice arena levy, that is, we get to, we levy for our net operating costs, so our net loss and operating ice arena, we're able to levy those costs. Career and technical, this is one of those situations where more of it shifted to state aid rather than local levy. The revenue didn't necessarily go down. The long-term facilities maintenance, so that $499,000 compared to the $1.3 million, that just has to do with the state changing from health and safety to long-term facilities maintenance, and then all school districts participate in long-term facilities maintenance rather than just the 35 largest in the state. So our number of 1.3 million is actually our state aid minus our bond payment that shows up down below, and that's what's left. So, what else? We have a lease that we paid off, so that's why you see the building/land lease that decreased. Lease levy intermediate, that has to do with 916 construction projects that are underway. So member districts are paying for that. Economic development abatement, that's tax abatement is when an entity, a city, for example, wants to entice economic development in the community. They'll forego, they won't collect the taxes on that property, but the school district still receives the taxes. It's just spread out to everyone else. So that's that. That runs for about 3 more years. Okay, so I feel like I went through that really fast, so maybe it wasn't very fast. I keep going, yeah.
Yeah, Wayne, I've got a question on something that doesn't appear here that received quite a bit of attention in our pre-board packet, and if it's part of the next meeting, just tell me that, and that'll be fine, but senior transportation, does that not receive any funding from the levy at all?
No.
Nothing, huh? Okay.
If it did, it would be in the service fund.
Yeah, that's what I
category.
thought.
Yep.
I was looking at it.
So, community services fund, all the categories remained relatively flat. Home visiting went up. That was just the multiplier went up from $1.60 up to $3 times the student unit it's used. It's a relatively minor increase, dollar increase, but it's on a doubling of that, just about doubling. The rest will remain the same. You'll also see on each category will have adjustments. So, I'll try to explain this briefly. There's I'll use the miscellaneous adjustment under the community services fund. So in the green box, there's a miscellaneous adjustments. There's multiple, but the biggest one was $88,000, a decrease in our levy of $88,000, because back in 2014, I believe it was, we estimated the line right above it, school age care. We estimated that to be an amount, and it was we actually spent less than what we had levied. So then there's an adjustment to make up for that. It's very normal. It's part of the process. There are many, many pages of adjustments in this 38 pages. Many of them are adjustments, just cleaning data up from prior years. So that's an example of one. So really, the community services fund levy looks like it is going down, but it's going down in large part because of an adjustment from the prior fiscal year. We didn't spend as much money as we possibly did. We collected the money from our taxpayers, didn't spend it, so we give it back through a reduction. And then debt service, so we have our general debt and we have our OPEB debt. So general debt is for building bonds, and our OPEB debt is our other post-employment benefits debt. And these numbers are all predetermined by the debt schedule that we know about when the bonds are issued. So our financial advisor actually goes in and makes sure all of these are accurate. So we have not a lot to do with putting these in the accounts. I do want to mention, you see the reduction for debt excess. You see that throughout. Each category has reduction for debt excess. So when we're levying for a bond payment, we actually levy 105% of what the payment's going to be. And we build up a little reserve, because we don't know about anything taxes, for example. But then when that reserve gets too high, then the Department of Ed factors in a reduction on the levy, so we don't bank too much of that going forward on a monthly basis. So that's why you see in the debt service fund, you're going to see reduction for debt excess frequently, and that's the reason why, because we over levy to make sure that we can make our bond payment. Once we make our bond payment, once the Department of Ed determines we've made our bond payment, and we don't need that excess, then they reduce levy accordingly. So that brings us to the bottom line, the $36,056,000, which matches what you see on the Department of Ed sheet. Detail. So we're at a slight decrease in the total.
All right, well, entertain any more questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve the maximum for the 2016 payable 2017 proposed property tax levy.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Chapman. Any questions or further discussion, Mr. Chapman?
Yeah, Wayne, under the general fund miscellaneous adjustments, what are the what are the biggest drivers as far as that? I mean, we're talking, what, $1.2 million swing? If I'm looking at the numbers correctly.
Okay, you're interested here on the last year, it had to do with a fairly significant health and safety adjustment upwards. So we don't have that levy adjustment this year. So that was a big part of that $774,000. And on this year, the $464,000 decrease, that has in large part to do with the $430,000 adjustment due to the timing of our financing of the TOSTA addition. So similar to the way we talked about issuing long-term facilities maintenance bonds a couple of months ago, and we make our best estimate as to when we would need the revenue, and then if it doesn't happen quite like we laid out, we may already levy. So this is, again, we levy for a payment, but we actually didn't need it in that fiscal year, so it comes off now. So that right there is probably a $900,000 swing. You take away the health and safety adjustment, and you do this one, that explains most of that swing. The rest of them are a lot smaller than that. But.
All right, any other questions for Dr. Jasmine Check? All right, seeing none, this calls for a roll call vote.
Chapman?
Aye.
Bailey? Aye. Kimball?
Aye.
Mullen? Newberg?
Aye.
Newmaster? Aye. Wilson?
Aye.
All right, the motion carries, and this ends our regular meeting, special meeting.